Hello, everybody, and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel for Feel Good Friday, the 17th of July. Just before I forget, next week I won't be posting anything to Facebook or emailing anything out for those who receive them. That way, because I will be at teen camp all week. I will be back on Sunday for Gospel on the Go and also on Monday, the 27th, for one more week before I go on holidays. So if you want to watch videos and you normally receive them by Facebook or email, you're going to have to go right to the YouTube channel. I wanted to chat today about a poem or a piece I read from this book I use every day, Celtic Daily Prayer. And it's talking about the founding of Iona. And it's called A New Beginning. Over to the slope on the east, the sandals exploring. Between the rock hills of Mull and the peak of Iona came none of the gales that bawled across the Atlantic. Low on the slope of Dun I was fertile cornland, high on the middle slope close sweet pasture, awash with thymes and clovers and thick stiff grasses that grass the shelly soil from the first dim ages. In the sockets of the rock-boned hills black peat lay thickly offering the kiln and the smithy their daily kindling. In the currents of the sound and in rock pools seals slid lively, porpoises lumbered and flounders flapped and tumbled, spangled mackerel scattered enamel lustres, making the sea the mimic of the shingle gardens. Here, Comseal said, here we have all but Ireland. The reason why I wanted to share that with you is because for the people who are searching for Iona, who are going there, they're looking for a new place to be. They went searching for something that for some people they would consider inhabitable. And yet for them it was beautiful. It reminded them of Ireland. It was everything of Ireland except Ireland. And that got me to thinking about a long time ago, many decades ago, conversation I had with my grandfather after I read a little blip from a history book about Queen's Bush, Bentinck Township in southwestern Ontario near Georgian Bay. And I remember asking my grandpa about, like, why would people come to a place where the first harvest of the season was rocks? I remember my mom telling me about going out and learning how to drive the tractor when her older brothers and sisters would be out pulling up the rocks every year. The frost would heave more rocks up, and before you could go out and plant the fields, you had to you had to harvest the rocks, get rid of all the rocks, so that you could actually go out and harvest the field or plant the field for harvest. And I remember thinking, why would anyone choose to go to such a rotten place? Like, why would farmers come to such a place to farm? Like when Canada has like the West, Manitoba and Saskatchewan and parts of Alberta, when we have all this fertile farmland, other places in the country, why in heaven's name would you stop in Bentinck Township? And he explained to me, as did the article I was reading in the Queen's Bush, that the people came to what they knew. The people weren't thinking in terms of, we're coming to a new world, a new place where we can do everything better than we've ever done it, and maybe wouldn't farming be easier without rocks every year? They came to a part of this country that looked an awful lot like home, a place where they knew how to farm, even though their first harvest of every year would be rocks, a place where the fields and the hills reminded them of generations past, of family members, of good times and bad, of all the things that had been, the things that they were hoping they could create anew in this new world. People don't, well, maybe they do now, but people didn't emigrate necessarily because they wanted life to be better than it was. I think most people emigrated because they wanted life to be as good as it was before politics or climate or other things changed, or simply overcrowding happened. They migrated to places that were familiar, and there's nothing wrong with that. Our society of make everything bigger, better now, make more money, do this. People might not understand that now. But when I even think about the places where I like to go on holiday, the places that I long to see again, The place I long to see again is a tree swing out between the house and the outhouse on the farm. I My heart sings when I see the gentle rolling hills of parts of Manitoba that remind me so much of where my grandfather's farm was. I love the mountains and I've been to see them, and I used to believe I wanted to live in the mountains. But when I got to Banff, I realized how claustrophobic I felt. Jasper was much easier. The mountains are older, more worn down. There's a more sense of an open feeling. But the truth is, I love where I am. I love the places that remind me of where I was as a child. I hope someday to retire someplace in Manitoba where I have a balance of farmland and rocks and crags where I would go when my mom and dad took us on vacation when we were little to places like Bobcaygeon or Manitoulin or other places where there was water and there were trees and there were rocks. Not so much the sandy beaches, not so much the accessibility to cities, but more an ability to go back to what I remembered with great joy and peace in my heart. And isn't that true of those who came to this country, for those who are seeking opportunity to be here? It isn't that the people, the Scottish people who came to Bentinck Township between Durham and Hanover, Ontario, it's not that they were idiots in coming and, chose intentionally to be in a place where they'd have to harvest rocks every spring. They simply came to a place that made them feel like home, a place they knew. They didn't know how to farm any other way if that's where they came from. So why would they look for something different? I think in our own lives we have to acknowledge and recognize that sometimes what is absolutely beautiful to our souls, what is healing to our hearts, isn't something that everybody else says would be better, more beautiful, more healing, but is simply what we know to be healing and beautiful in our hearts. And doesn't that make for a great world to live in? The diversity and the uniqueness of who we are. I long for that tree swing back between the door to the back kitchen and the outhouse at my grandparents' farm. I can't ever have that back. But someday I hope that I will find a place where I can reinvent or recreate something that feels like that. Not necessarily wanting to go and pick up rocks every spring myself, but a place where that's what you would do if you're a farmer, because that's where I would feel at home. We needn't judge what other people think is home. We just need to find our own space and call it home. So wherever you believe would be the best place for you to be, go there. Physically, geographically, in your heart, go there. And don't let anyone else tell you that it's not absolutely perfect. Because if that is where you're called to be, then that will be your perfect place. Have a great weekend. God bless you. I'll see you on Sunday for Gospel on the Go or on Monday for Church at Home with Rachel.